Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. Our Dark Duet is one of this year's BookTube Sff Award nominees, and voting season is now open for the award, so we are voting on our finalists now. So if you have read the nominees and you would like to vote, I will leave the link down below. Voting is open through June 8th, so get your votes in, and our live show discussion of all of the nominees and our picks as judges and everything will be later on this month. So look forward to an announcement about that. It's going to be here on my channel, but you will hear the official announcement and the date and the time and everything soon if you're interested in watching that. This is the second book in the Monsters of Verity duology. I have reviewed the first book, which is This Savage Song. I will leave that review on the screen if you haven't read that book already. So this takes place in a world where monstrous acts beget monsters. So violent acts create different kinds of monsters, and this book takes place 6 months after the events of the first book. So first off, I'm going to talk about the world building. I really like Victoria Schwab's worlds in general, and I really like this, and I really liked it in The Savage Song as well. This book, we get to see a little bit more of what's going on outside of just Verity in some other cities and how the whole monster crisis is affecting those cities. So that was exciting, but I don't think it was delved into as much as it could have been. We get to see kind of some new monsters and things, but ultimately it's still very centered on Verity and the problems within Verity, and we don't really get those loose ends with those other cities really tied up. Next, I'm going to talk about our characters. We are still following both Kate and August, and they do start the book separated, so we are following their kind of separate storylines, and I still really like these characters, but I found I wasn't as attached to them as I was with the first book. I don't know if it's because I've had so much time between reading the first book and this book, but I found myself not quite sympathizing and getting as attached to them as I was in the first book. What I do like about this series and what it does with its characters is how it explores monstrosities within people and like who's really the monster or the person and all of that kind of thing. I really like that theme that it explores. So you have that being explored through both of them. Again, you have August really struggling with what it means to kind of be a monster and coming to grips with his past and the events of what happened in the first book, and you have Kate struggling with that as well. Kind of this whole theme of your past being a monster that follows you and that sticks with you. That is something that's explored through these characters. But ultimately, I didn't find the problems or the things that they were going through to be anything nuanced or unique. I found their paths a little bit predictable. I do really enjoy these side characters in this series. For example, August's sister Ilsa is one of my favorite characters, but I again feel like she was underutilized. I feel like she was underutilized in book 1, but I thought we were going to get more of her in book 2, and I feel like again she was underutilized in book 2. Sadly. There is a new monster in here who is gender non-conforming, so that was cool, but again, I didn't even really feel like we got quite enough of them. This is one of those series that, although it's a duology, and I like duologies because I don't think we need a ton of trilogies, I almost feel like we needed a trilogy with this because there was more things that could have been explored and more pieces that weren't really fleshed out with the characters and the plot and the world, and I feel like we could have had more books in this world. Lastly, we talk about the plot. So as you can probably gather, the plot let me down. I feel like this book was simplistic in some way. It was just so kind of simple and straightforward, and I was expecting a lot more out of it, especially with how much I enjoyed this Savage Song. I just wanted more, and I feel like we didn't get that. It was also pretty slow considering how quick-paced I found the first book, and it just wasn't really going there for me. I feel like the themes and the tropes that it explored, again, have been done before and were fairly predictable, and I just found myself not really sympathizing with the plight of the characters. There was also an overabundance of villains, I feel like, in this story, which kind of cluttered things up a bit, and I just feel like there was a lot of loose ends that weren't tied up with a number of things within the story. I feel like a lot of this I can't really talk about because it would be spoilery, so I am going to be doing a spoilery discussion video on this so you can hear more of my thoughts if you have read the series, but I don't want to go into too much of it and spoil it within this. So this is why this review is fairly short, because it was just like, this was disappointing. I ultimately gave Our Dark Duet 3 out of 5 stars. So like I said, I will be doing a spoilery gripe discussion on this, so I will link that on the screen for you to check out if you are interested, but comment them below and let me know your thoughts on Our Dark Duet. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.